Hey guys, Steve the Coastie Hiker here, and today's video is going to be about the new sleeping pad standards and what that means for you. So one of the biggest problems that's been bugging the hiking world is the temperature rating of your sleeping pads. Some companies use R value and some use temperature ratings. There's never really been a consistent way to measure this though until now with this new standard. So the primary objective of the new standard was to create a standard test procedure and rating system for us the consumers. This allows us the consumer to accurately compare the insulation properties of multiple vendors' sleeping pads. And as a result of this new standard, major outdoor retailers are going to require that the R value ratings be published on their equipment. This new standard defines a very rigorous and very thorough testing of sleeping pads. That includes inflatable sleeping pads, the foam pads, and self-inflating pads too. So companies out there that already provide R values for their sleeping pads, they're going to have to get tested again to come up to code. That would be brands such as Thermarest. They actually have already started showing their new R values for their sleeping pads. If you go to their website, they'll even talk about it. And for example, I have the Thermarest Neo Air X-Therm, and its new R value was a 6.9. Pad manufacturers that only provide temperature ratings are going to start now being required by most major retailers to start posting their R value rating. And we can honestly thank REI and MEC for really spearheading this initiative to make one standard consistent across the board to help make sure us, the consumers, are getting solid sleeping pads, and not only that, but solid information. So now you can compare multiple sleeping pads because there's one constant value, and now they're actually going to be measurable, ranging from Thermarest to Nemo and tons of other companies out there. So what is R value? R value just measures how well an object can resist the flow of heat from one side to the other. So for sleeping pads, that'd be from ground, sleeping pad, and then to body. So the higher the R value, the higher the resistance and better insulating properties. Something that happens quite often, I think, in the backpacking community, especially for people that are just new to it, is I fell victim to this myself, is I thought sleeping pads are what are going to keep you warm. And that is totally false. Sleeping pads are meant to design to resist the transfer of heat. So you, sleeping pad, ground, that's just going to act as a barrier. And in some of the more insulated ones, they have metallic fabrics and different things like that to trap heat better. The testing process for the new R value standard is pretty cool actually. They take two plates, one, it's not warm, but it's warmer than the bottom plate, and it just sandwiches together pretty much. You're just gonna see how long it takes for the heat to go through, and how well it resists the transfer of heat from one plate to the other. So what does this mean for smaller vendors and cottage companies? So they do have the testing equipment already available by a company called Thermetrics. I think I'm saying that right. The R value testing methodology and the calibration scheme was meant to be simple, so that way smaller companies have a shot at adjusting what they need to and staying competitive with the bigger brands. And it could post beneficial to them as well, because if it's a smaller company compared to Big Agnes, Thermarest, Nemo, it might actually help them selling a cheaper pad that has a high R value, because now you're able to compare this pad you found on Amazon. I'm not knocking Amazon if you buy your pad there. I have an Outdoorsman Lab pad that I use for summer sometimes. But it can help companies like that be competitive against the big giants. So one other thing about R value is it's not just actually used in the hiking world. It's used in HVAC, and it's used in construction too, actually. Insulation for your attic, for your walls, they come with R values, so you know what kind of insulating properties they're going to have. The other thing that's nice about having R values is temperature ratings. You have other variables that come into play, like if it's a male, a female, weight, body shape, size, things like that that can affect the data that's finally pushed out at the end. So just a quick recap, there are new R value standards for sleeping pads that affect self-inflating, foam, and blow-up sleeping pads. And there's a standard across the board that all vendors have to meet now. And that way it's the R value and not just a temperature rating, which can be skewed. The R value and the testing method of the two plates sandwiching the sleeping pad in the middle is going to be way more beneficial in the long run, because you now have a consistent line to measure all that information from. And like I said earlier, the R value is definitely better than the temperature rating. It's more consistent, less variables, and it can be beneficial to smaller companies. So another question that you can ask about this is how this will affect some of the companies that, somebody that posts a temperature rating versus the R value standard now. Well, some manufacturers are going to have to make some sweeping changes to come in compliance with this new standard, and there might be major adjustments to their quality control and how they're actually building them, so that way they can designate them properly for the R value that it's supposed to be at. So that wraps up this video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found this helpful and useful. It's a big change for 2020 for the hiking and outdoor world in general. So if you have any questions, post them down below. I'd love to answer and help you guys out. And make sure you like this video if you found any help, and make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys out there.